Hello, everybody. We are in Port Charlotte, Florida, where we're going in to speak with a client of Brightstar. He has an amazing story that I think is so important to share. And we will be greeted by Lisa Marie, who is the owner of Brightstar of Venice and Port Charlotte. Here she is. Hi, Lisa Marie. Can you tell us a little bit about your agency and what sets you guys apart? Because they truly are top-notch and go the extra mile.
Sure. Well, we're Brightstar, Venice and Port Charlotte. Our territory is from South Sarasota all the way to Punta Gorda and out to Arcadia. I think a couple things that make us different is one, we're Joint Commission accredited, so we follow much higher standards than a lot of other home care agencies, specifically the private duty. And also with Home Care Pulse, it's a company that randomly and anonymously calls all of our clients and caregivers and they ask how we're doing. And we've rated so high with customer satisfaction that now we're in the top 4 to 5% of home cares in the entire country. So I'm really happy about that. That's a lot of hard work, but Jim and I, we're the owners, my husband and I, and we try really hard to make sure that all of our clients and our caregivers are happy. And from the results we've seen so far, I guess we're doing a good job.
You definitely are, and that's going to lead us right into an actual client of theirs and his caregiver to tell his story, which has many different layers, as I've just learned about. So, hello, Samantha.
Hi, Samantha. Nice meeting you.
I want you to share your story about you and the special relationship you have with your caregiver.
My caregiver is not replaceable. She saved my life. We had an experience where another person was. I had an operation, major operation, surgery, that required daily wound care management. This other organization had people, quote, assigned to me to do just that. Unfortunately, they didn't show up. As a result, the wound wasn't taken care of, and when Joni showed up, she looked at the wound, both because I was in pain. She examined the wound, and the leg was so swollen. She took some of the bandages off, and it was pus all over the place. So clearly it was not something that could be addressed here locally. She managed to get me in her car, to squeeze me in somehow, and off we went to the Englewood Hospital Emergency Care Center, where we were, quote, delayed because we hadn't come in an ambulance by about an hour and a half before we were seen. She stayed with me. They ended up admitting me to the hospital. She stayed with me during the admission process, which the cycle from the time she picked me up that morning to the time that she went home was 18 hours. And she was there.
She never left your side.
Obviously, being in the hospital with this was an experience. They had a doctor that came, was one doctor that had actually taken care of me 15 years ago when I had an infected knee. He was a
infectious disease doctor.
What?
Infectious disease
Infectious
doctor.
disease doctor, Dr. Knapp. And he examined what I had, and he said immediately I had to put you on antibiotics. He started an antibiotic drip, and that started 4 or 5 days in the hospital. 2 days after I finally convinced them I got to go home because I can't stay in the hospital, and they allowed me to go to the recovery room, which was adjacent to the hospital, under his supervision. And we were there for 2 days, at which point I just had to leave because I didn't think I was getting the care. Wasn't getting the care that I needed, which was to be out of the hospital. Because intellectually I had sort of gone through, I'm finished with the hospital, you guys are just holding me here, and I can get the drip done outside, and they agreed, yes.
I want to go
Dr.
home.
Knapp said I can do outside in-home service. So he prepared a program of in-home service where people were going to come every single day to do the drip and to do wound care. He organized that, and we went through a system of first drip ball. There's two devices you can use. Getting back just to set the stage for this, it required, because I was going to go on a continual program of medicine being introduced to my body, I had to have a pick put into my shoulder. He asked me to go to the Venice hospital, which was totally inconvenient, which Joni drove me anyway. And we were there for 4 or 5 hours. I have never received more professional treatment than in the Venice Center where they put the pick in. There were 6 women in the room, all of them with hairnets, face masks. Everything was a sterile procedure. And I was so impressed the way they put the pick in. They put the pick in, then they took an x-ray to make sure it had gone into the artery, and then they released us to go back. And I'm only going to point out that process because the professionalism that they displayed there was a benchmark as far as I was concerned, because I've had a pick introduced into me probably 2 or 3 times, and this was night and day. I mean, I really give them a lot of credit. Anyway, we came back and they started the treatment. Now, when they put the pick in, they told me that there's 2 systems. One is a bulb system, where you get a bulb that you hang up and it drips into you over 40 or 45 minutes, or rather, you have an injection system which works in 10 minutes, where they put a device that's like a gun that allows you to measure the introduction of the medicine over a 10-minute period. So it cuts the time from an hour to 1 hour and 15 minutes to a very short period of time. So they introduced that to me. They even said I could do it myself. Obviously, I wasn't about to do it myself. I'm
Yes.
just not being able to see. I don't know where I would put it. So anyway, they converted to that, and that became a very efficient device. And after about, 2 weeks, Joni? They took weekly blood tests. The doctor called and he said, stop. He said, the infection is cured, discontinue the medication, and he ordered the pick out. So that was that phase of this operation. And someone, I don't know if it was from your staff or not. Okay.
What? No, because we
it
were
wouldn't-
only
it
doing
wouldn't-
the
no, it
private
was- it
duty
was-
part.
It was
Yeah, it was a Medicare home care that was coming
it
at
was a
that point.
Medicare home service that came. And they took the pick out, and just sidebar. They called and I said, Allison is coming. I said, I've never heard of Allison, she has never been here. I'm really concerned about someone that's never treated me coming in to take a pick out, which I consider a major thing.
Right.
She's gonna be digging in me, and I'm not in great shape right now, intellectually or physically. Anyway, Allison showed up, pregnant as you could be. And I said, uh-oh, this is not gonna work. Well, it worked. She was incredibly good. She had 7 children.
Holy cow.
This was her 8th coming out of the oven. And it was due in 2 months, and she was incredible. She just did an incredible job. This is what you call a healthcare provider history of here she is, a mother, a healthcare provider, a nurse, and I was just very impressed with it. And completing her master's degree as well. So I said, healthcare is a field where I think the female population is so much more effective, efficient, and capable than the male population.
Wouldn't disagree with you. Women are the caregivers of the world, that's for sure.
No, there's no doubt, and not a male chauvinist, but I got to tell you that I'm shocked at how bad the men who are in healthcare are compared to the women who are in healthcare. And they range from the aides to the nurses. It's just a whole different world. The men are too rough. They're not capable. They think they're working with wood when they're working with a person. So I really find that generally women are who I want running around doing for me rather than men. And there's one exception that Lisa Marie found for me. I wanted my wife was very concerned that I'm in this house alone.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I wear one of those life locks
Lifeline?
where I can push it and get 9/11. I've gone to when I first bought this house, because I lived on an island, I came and I went to 2 firehouses, talked to the fire people, because I'm fire, it's 25 years fire, and rescue, talked to the fire people, talked to the rescue people, looked at their equipment, and decided, okay, Station 10 is got the staff and capable and knowledge and equipment that was so far superior to what we have in New York. I drew a 10-mile radius of where the station is located, and I said, okay, that's where my search for a new house is going to be. They had a program called the Red Dot Program, where you register with them, you register all your issues, all your problems, your medical team, who you use as services, and they put you in their computer. So when you call, they have all your medical history, all your medical records. There's a red dot on my door. And they come, and the minute they hit the driveway, they can take you and start working you right there. They don't have to go to a hospital. They have a sufficient amount of equipment, knowledge, and experience that they start working, taking care of you as soon as you get here. As soon as they get here, rather, they put you aboard. So that's just a sidebar, but it's where medicine is going, and unfortunately there's not more of that. Now, getting back to the staff, I needed care in the evenings. And I called Jim Boone, Lisa Marie's husband, and I said, I need an evening guy. And I didn't say guy, but obviously I'm a single male. A woman would not be, I just didn't think of a woman. I said a man right away. Well, they had a male, and Jim cautioned me before he sent them out. He said, I want you to be, I don't know how this guy is going to work in the condition that you are in, you by yourself. And he said, I'll talk to him, but I'm not certain he's the right type. And then I have another person that I'd like to also try, because there were different nights that were available. The net of the story, the one person did not work out to me. I mean, he could work out for somebody else. The other person was incredible. This guy is so focused on caregiving. It really is hard to believe that he can turn on so well to being a caregiver consistently, getting you everything you need. What do you want? You don't have to ask. After he's been here 5 days, 5 nights, he anticipated what I wanted. He anticipated what I might drink, what I might eat, the water. He managed my pills. He's as bad as Joni. I can't get away with not taking pills. I try to sneak away, say, I don't, some of those pills are diuretics, and I'm tired of sitting on the toilet. Take the pills, take the pills, take the pills. Well, he's the same way. He sits there and he won't move. He says, I'm not leaving here until you take your pills. And he goes and gets the water, and he says, I'll make anything you want as long as you take the pills. I'll cook for you, I'll clean for you. So that person became a very valuable asset. And it's through Jim, and I don't know how far Lisa Marie got involved on that case, but I know Jim got involved and he talked to both people, and they're a very valuable asset. My point being that in every company, in every business, you have staff, and staff works sometimes and sometimes it doesn't.
Yep.
You have people that they don't work because they're untrained, or they're just, there's a personality
Not a good
conflict,
synergy,
a
exactly.
lifestyle conflict.
Yeah.
The issue that was most important was that they solved the problem in finding a person that was compatible with me. He may not have been the best person in the world, but to me, I couldn't ask for more, just like with Joni.
So when did Joni come into the picture?
Oh, earlier, Joni came in the picture,
Around February, I believe.
yeah, and she came in the picture. The first thing that impressed me with Joni was her cooking. She said, "What would you like to eat?" "Oh, I'd like meatball parmesan." She made meatball parmesan. She made so much of it. We're freezing it, and I gave some to a neighbor, the neighbor next door, who happens to be a retired chief of fire company in Dade County. Then I had more left. He told another neighbor about the meatballs. The other neighbor came up and said, "Can we help you go shopping for you?" And I said, "Where are they coming out of the wall on?" "Well, no, we heard that you can't drive and you can't see and you have health care, but we're going shopping. Do you want us to get anything?" And I said, "Well, there's got to be something behind this." And they said, "And could you tell us what ingredients she uses? Because when she cooks the next time, maybe she can make us meatballs."
She's going to be running a takeout diner from your house.
Exactly. And you can't make this up. So she was like the queen of meatballs for South Gulf Cove. And I stopped it after that because I was gaining weight. She cooks so well and that you can't not gain weight. And the last thing I wanted to do was gain weight because I'm trying to lose weight. We had another person who was also very good from them prior to Joni, who cooked Italian. And I gained 9 pounds.
Wow.
Because everything had to be with ziti or spaghetti. It was never a plain. I said, "You got to cook a regular meal without pasta?" "Well, you can't have a meal without pasta. I'm Sicilian, and you got to have pasta." I said, "Don't cook for me. You got to eat." And at that point, my health was doing this, and my wounds were up and down. So we had an issue. But she would bring me sugarless cake. She made cake and sugar-free. And I said, "I don't know if I believe you." Anyway, wonderful person. Before Joni went on a honeymoon, and Lisa Marie found this other person
To fill
who
in.
covered and did everything Joni did during that period. Excellent. And that's what impressed me, was that Joni was great. She was able to turn over a lot of the things that she did for me during her 10-day honeymoon with Lisa Marie's help, that enabled this other girl to just step in and do what she had to do, which, she was obviously well trained and got it done. And that's the name of this business, is when you're in home, like I am, unfortunately, you need to have people that don't add more pressure to you, that have the ability to think, and the ability to, where are we going? We're going to this doctor. That's it. She goes on the phone, she uses a computer, she gets the address, she gets driving instructions, and they do it. Now, that's very important to me as a patient. But a lot of people don't do that. They bring some dummy, "Well, where's the how do we get there? Can you tell us how to get there? What roads?" "Well, I can tell you how to get there. I'm going to call my wife in New York, and she'll tell you how to get there. But you're here in Florida, you know where the place." So one of the great advantages is the training of the people that come here. They're pre-trained, and I had them do a list because I'm a nut about planning and doing things right business-wise. The strategic planning was a big part of my life. I asked Joni to do a list of what she thought her tasks were. What does she as a home healthcare aide expected to do by her company and by me? I asked the same thing of the male employee, separately. I want him to do a list of what he thinks he should be doing. And then I got the two lists, and there was some significant differences in his expectation and Joni's expectation. And I had to meld the list, and both of them got copies of the list. And I asked them, now, I want to produce a list that I can give to any caretaker that comes in this house that is unique to me, because I know the basic training comes from Brightstar, and they train them. They have a training program, and they train them. But they train them generally. I want a person that's been trained for me, by me, that has all my little innuendos and all my little
It's personal. It's your life. Yeah.
addressed. And these lists address that. Now, I haven't given a copy of it to Lisa Marie, but she's obviously welcome to it. And most of it is what they train them in. But again, there's a lot of issues for me. Like I see with a CPAP, how to do the CPAP, how much water to put in, how frequently do you do the CPAP, how frequently do you change the nose. She now knows the CPAP as well as I do. And so does the other person that comes, the gentleman that comes in the evening. And they know what to do, they know how to do it, I don't have to get involved, they wash it, they clean it. And that's a critical part of me with atrial fibrillation. And with apnea, that I have a machine that is cleaned.
Oh, yes.
And operating properly and done every day. It's not something you can, let stay there for a week. And her staff does it, both. He's the only male member that been in the house to help that I believe is someone that I will ask for and demand because I know his quality. Just as Joni, they try to replace Joni, and I just there's no replacement for Joni.
So Joni, let's hear from you a little bit. How long have you been a caregiver with Brightstar, and what brought you into caregiving? Because you really do have to have a special heart to be a caregiver.
Yes. I've been with Brightstar for almost a year now, and I really love to be able to help people. And whenever elderly people are unable to do things for themselves, they really appreciate it whenever you can do it for them. And you can help them, and if you can even help them to achieve, to be able to do it themselves, that's wonderful, because you're giving them something back that they feel like they had lost. So it really feels good to your heart to know that you're needed. I love to be needed. I love to help, and it's a very good feeling.
It's fulfilling to see him cry when he talks about how much you've impacted his life in a positive way. That's powerful. And if there's one thing I can say I've learned since publishing Singer's Blue Book, which is about 20 years, that you have, as a patient right of choice. Just because you might be told at a hospital that you need to use this or that agency, that is not true. You have every right to say, no, I'm not comfortable with that. I would like to use this agency. And just as we were talking about to Lisa Marie, who is a nurse herself, which truly does set her apart as a nurse owner, you have every right to advocate for yourself or partner with an agency such as Brightstar that's going to stand up and do the right thing for what you need to have taken care of. And that is in an area where we have, I think, 178 home health choices. It is so important that you partner with somebody that has your best choices at heart and puts you as a priority. And that's obviously what's happened here. Joni is like a second daughter to you. I know that. I know that from my own grandma's experience with her caregiver, how she became, her name was Lorna, the most important person in my grandma's world. And that was amazing. So sharing these stories and the touch you've made on his life is truly impressive. I can't say enough positive things about Brightstar and Lisa Marie and this story.
Yeah, well, part of the Brightstar plan that I haven't mentioned is when I had to go on, I had a healthcare policy, very thick book, and I called them and they said, well, you have to do this form, this form. I said, well, what's this forms business? I got a policy. Here's the policy that says how much I'm allowed, and this company that I called, I like. Lisa Marie came out, and I said, I like her, I like the company, I like what she tells me. And what do we have to wait? Well, you have to fill in these forms. I said, oh my God. She said, let my husband get involved. He got my book, he took my policy, he called the company, he filled out all the forms, he did all the forms, all the information that they needed. He said, don't worry about a thing, I'll handle everything. He did. The next thing I knew, I was getting health care. Without filling out all, whatever he did, he filled out the forms. He took care of it for you, yeah. He told them what my restrictions were, what concerns he had, how we would pay, how we wouldn't pay, when we would pay. All those issues I didn't even have to address. I don't know what he went through. And I'm fairly sophisticated because of my business backgrounds, but I didn't have to get involved. They handled it. And when handle it means, when I have someone handle it, it means I ask you to do it, the next thing is done. I don't want to know. And I have other healthcare and one other healthcare agency that comes in. It's like I say, clean the floor. Where's the brush? Where's this?
I don't want to have to tell you everything. Just get it done.
Yeah. It's like, well, I'm going to come Saturday. Please, I don't want to talk to you. Get out of here. And that's one of the beauties of the health, at least I've found, and my wife being very aggressive on this, is that we do have choice.
Yes.
We have choices all along the way. So that if you don't like company A, you go to company B.
Yes.
Well, and we didn't actually talk about that, but you did have a different Medicare home care agency in here at the very beginning, which is actually, we think, what contributed to his hospitalization with his issue with his leg is their nurse didn't show up. And so it was a Friday, she didn't come. He went all weekend without any wound care, and come Monday, he had a severely infected leg or foot and ended up in the hospital. Well, much to our surprise, when he came out of the hospital and got sent home, they sent him home with the same Medicare agency that had neglected him at the beginning. And so it was 4:30 Friday night, and I was out here with Charles and his wife, and we found out this agency was supposed to come, and I said, I think this is not the right thing. Yeah. So right away we made phone calls. We were able to get another agency in here, and Charles can tell you about the nurse that he's had with that agency, that Medicare agency, because we're not Medicare, we do strictly private duty, but we work really closely with Medicare agencies.
Yes.
And I was so thankful that I called at 4:30 on a Friday night and was able to get a hold of the Medicare agency, and they've taken care of his wounds now for him, and I think he's really happy with the nurse he has with that Medicare agency, and then in partnership with our private duty caregivers, he's making a great recovery.
His needs are being met, and it's
Absolutely.
huge.
I'm getting better.
Yes.
The key is I'm getting better. I have another 6 weeks probably, but I'm finally starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel. Mm-hmm. Things are now starting to be finished, other than now I got a new issue with the cancer on my head, but that hopefully will be resolved within the next week or two. But what I have found is that if I had a problem, I would call them, even though they weren't involved in the problem. And I would use Jim's, I would talk to him and say, I'm trying to address this. And he would direct me to something or say, hey, did you consider this? Did you consider that? And we chatted about the people and the staffing and how much time and concern they have over staffing and how much time they must spend to get staff And even when they think they got them, they're not certain that they're Brightstar kind of care.
Material, yes. I mean, we are going through a caregiver crisis in this country. We do not have enough caregivers, and the training many times given to those caregivers is little to none. This is another reason why Brightstar is set apart. They really go above and beyond on their training and make sure that their staff knows what they're doing. I have heard countless stories throughout my career of people showing up and not knowing what to do or doing a procedure incorrectly, causing the patient more harm than good. That's not what we're looking for. We're looking for trained professionals that are going to do it the right way from the first time. And I will say it again, you have patient choice. Just because a hospital might discharge you and say you need to go with this agency, that is not true. Open your mouth, talk, make sure you're making what's the best decision for yourself. And if you are in Venice or Port Charlotte, I could not recommend Brightstar even more. Lisa Marie, if people need to get a hold of you at Brightstar, what number do they call?
The best number to reach us is 941-412-4070. We actually have a live person on call 24/7 and also a nurse on call. So we're always available, always someone will answer the phone, and we'd be happy to have you become part of our extended family.
Yes. Thank you for joining us. Thank you both for sharing your story. It touched my heart, and I appreciate your time. And we'll see you next time on Seniors Blue Book Videos.
Thank you.